What if he reincarnated Spider-Man in the MCU? Don't forget to come. I can subscribe. It starts with this. Peter goes back to the Daily View go after saying goodbye to Gwen, who rushes the dead evil and goes and says hello to Carly, and then he goes to on JJ. It says I got the pictures, and Jamison says, well kid, he did pretty well. I'll give you 500. No, actually 10,000, 12,000. Peter says make it 13,000. You got a deal. JJ says deal. Peter goes back to the spider nest working on AI. He gets the AI ready now. What should I name you? That's what Peter says. Something helpful, that's it. Peter says, your name will be Hope. Hope says thank you, Peter. Peter decided to go out to the store and call Harry, and Peter said, hey Harry, what are you doing? No, nothing, me and Dad was just catching up. Why are you calling? Peter says, just to catch up. Do you want to catch some food like with my aunt and my uncle and your dad? Harry said sure. How do you said maybe that new restaurant? Peter's head, sure, you should invite Felicia to her dad just got out too. Harry said sure. Peter said I'll give her a phone call. Peter hangs up the phone with Harry switches to Felicia. Peter says Felicia, how you been? Pretty good. Felicia says so Peter, what did you want to talk about? I was wondering, would you like to go out with me and Harry and give me a fight your dad and have a nice meal just to catch up? Felicia, we'll see. I'll ask my father and see what he thinks. Peter says, what's the restaurant? Peter says, with the restaurant in the city. Peter says, so are you coming from for Lisa's? It would be good to get my father out of the house. For a change, they all get ready to go to the restaurant, and an Uncle Ben says you don't have to pay for Peter. We can do this. We can pay for it. Peter says I want to pay for all of you, so don't worry about it. So at least I can do Harry and Norman and Felicia. And her father shows up to the restaurant. Felicia says, thank you, Pete, for inviting us today. Harry said the same. We don't get out this much. So are we going to get some dinner or something like that? Norman said, so what are you doing, Peter? What's your plan? I don't know. I might boss at this. At the Daily Bugle is actually being pretty nice to me, so I might gain some more money and stuff like that, and then may make a company. Norman says, you are very smart, Peter, one of the smartest people I ever know. You even help Harry with his homework and stuff. Harry said, pretty much. He basically say it's my life and other subject stuff. I said, Peter is very smart individual. Felicia's dad looks at her and is inside his head. This girl really like this boy, probably so. The waiter says, what can I get you today? Peter says that I'll order the chicken strips and French fries. Felicia ordered second. I'll get a salad. Norman says I'll order the salad as well. Felicia's dancing. I might get the chicken. Says finally someone's ordering the chicken. Someone is finally getting something else to set. I thought I was the only one getting the chicken for first. Uncle Ben, I'll get like a little bit of chicken and a little bit of salad. Okay, Peter says, okay, so you're being a little bit healthy, but a little pinky. Okay. Okay, before the waiter takes their orders and they take their trays. Norman says to Felicia's father, so how you been? Reese's father is pretty good, not that bad. So are you looking for jobs right now? I might be detective or police officer. Peter chimes in cities. I have a friend that is a police officer. I mean, I'm a friend, but I'm a friend that has a father that's a police officer. I can try and get a good word in with you. As that stuff is happening, Peter feels his spider senses going off. The light starts flickering. Peter says inside his head, what is it this time? My spider sense is going off crazy and I don't know what to do, but first I'm going to have to get inside. Peter says, can I be excused for just a second? I need to use the restroom. He goes into the bathroom going invisible. Peter made it outside, and he sees someone in a suit sorting the energy, and it's female. Female Electro. Peter says to himself, doesn't she kind of look like in that Spider-Man show that was on Disney XD, but kinda got canceled? And Peter just swings and says, hey Sparky. She says, what are you doing, Spider-Man? I kinda have dinner plans. So can we just wrap this up? What are you actually here to do? Revenge against my old boss that he used to work for. He runs at a restaurant. Peter says, great, probably the restaurant that we're going to eat. We do this somewhere else, like It could have been any other day. Really took my research like a tool. Something. I was kicked out of the lab. I have no job, no, I'm in a trashy apartment, and I have nothing thanks to him, but he has everything in there. None of it. That's what the female shocker says. Spider-Man says, I know he might have did those things to you, and it's terrible. But there are good people in that restaurant, innocent. They don't deserve your vengeance. They don't deserve to feel your pain. It doesn't feel right, I know it feels painful, but you can use your genius for a force of good. I know a company that is good. That's starting up, called Parker Industries. It's taking people. You can use your genius to save people and start horny people. You can be lucky. 1. The female Electro says, I'll think about it. Spider-Man swings, he sent someone. And Black Widow is following him, but Peter senses her. He goes invisible, catches her up by the web as she gets pulled up. Spider-Man is hanging upside down like a spider. Spider-Man says, what are you doing? Black Widow says, how did you sense me like you like to know? Let's just say I have my way, no. Why have you been following me? Nick Fury, my boss, wants to talk to you about joining a secret program of heroes. I'll think about it, just tell me where and when to meet up. How about tomorrow at the docks? Are you sure this is not where I'm gonna get a bush? That's worse, that Spider-Man says. Black Widow says, it's not a trap, Spider-Man. Nick Fury just wants to talk to you. You see, Tony Stark, there's a big whole world out there, and you just like Nick Fury just wants to get a hand on thing. I'll be there and I'll hear him out. That's what Spider-Man says. Like Widow says, that's all I want. Spider-Man cuts down Black Widow from his web and swings back. It goes back to the restaurant. He said, what I miss? Well, it was a power outlet power outage. Felicia says, where have you been? In the bathroom. A few hours passed and their dinner the waitress. Then the night ends in a walk home. Then everybody is at me and Uncle goes to bed. Peter stays up. Goes the spider house to his AI called. Hope says, what's going on? I want to make a company. Hope it says, that's not bad. What do you want to create, Peter? Peter thinks inside his head Parker Industries was made to solve most of his villains, so let's just do this, that. How fast can I make the company? Hope says maybe if you use his magic, you can meet the company on a day. Maybe Peter swing by the Sorcerer Supreme's house. And she says, what's my prodigy want now? Peter says, is it a spell for making buildings or instruction or anything? The Sorcerer says, the spell for that. Why do you ask? I want to make a company that fixes the villain in the city, cured them, so solves their issues, that actually causes them instead of just locking them up. I get it, some people might need to be locked up, but some of these people might get natural causes. Peter learns to spell, and make a full-fledged company building. Peter says, looks pretty decent, scanner up and running. Peter says to myself, I spent the whole hour working on the building. He sleeps. Aunt Me knocks on the door and says, Peter, it's time to get up. Peter says, great. I stayed up all night and it's all ready to get up. Peter says, I'm gonna get up on me. Uncle Ben is sitting at the table. He says, you didn't get any sleep last night. Peter says, not that much. Aunt Me says, I'll be late for my new job. What new job? That's what Peter says. I'm working at a feast center. Peter says, what a feast center? Peter says, wants me the PS4 or Spider-Man game. I see Mr. Negative a little bit, Mr. Negative. I should keep an eye on her. Peter says, have a good day at your new job. He goes to Crystal and says, follow her. Crystal, if anything happens at her job, let me know. Anything out of the ordinary. Crystal said, serve Peter. Crystal goes invisible and stays nearby to Ant-Man. Peter says if there's any like the Spider-Man comics or like the PS4 Spider-Man game, will not become like the PS4 Spider-Man game. There's nothing we can do right now, everything to suspect. Peter is swinging around the city, and then he gets a phone call from Tony Stark. He sticks to wall. Getting a phone call with Tony. Don says, what are you doing right now? Peter says, nothing right now. Tony, can you come to the Stark Expo, the Stock Expo, huh? Peter says, okay, I'll come. Peter says, it's Dark Expo. Iron Man 2 is already starting. The MCU's kicking off very quickly. Does that mean? That means a fan go one of Tom's villains, aka Whiplash, and also Iron Man's big heart issue. He needs to find a new element for his art director, or he's gonna die soon. Peter says one problem at a time, deal with the heart issue first, then deal with Whiplash last. Spider-Man wings to the Stark's box. He walks in with a Spider-Man mask and a suit. Tony says, "I'm here. Where are you coming from?" Dislike he does his big entrance, as the normal stuff that happened in the army movie happens. Tony is checking his poison level, and Peter saying good. Good on the entrance. You dress pretty nice, that's what Tony says. I can dress pretty nice when I want to. What's going on? What's been going on with you this Wednesday? He went to the meeting with Brody and the president, not the president, but basically the government is trying to get my Iron Man seat and stuff like that. Spider-Man says that's not surprising. What's been going on with you? Tony says I'm okay, and Spider-Man says no, you're not, you were hiding something. Tony says, how do you know that it is still? Now spell it. That's what Peter says. Tony says, I have poisoning from my car director poisoning her. Have you tried any new elements? That's what Spider-Man says. Tony says, I tried every element that it's known to man. And then Pepper comes through the door and says, what were you thinking? That big thought I was thinking, and it will be okay. Tony fans. Are you gonna camp for come to our house? Spider-Man fiddlebit. At Tony's house. Hello Tommy in Spider-Man's town in the lab area. St. Tony's checking his art director and Spider-Man saying that's good. It looks like you got veins everywhere. You need to find a Antu pretty fast. Tony says if you have any ideas, it would be nice. Spider-Man says it's out there somewhere. It's always out there. Maybe it's in your father's old research. Maybe Tony says why would it be in my father's old research? They're saying sometimes a solution is you have to take a step back to figure some things out. Till then let's get in the boxing ring. So Spider-Man and Tony is going a few rounds basically. Spider-Man's trying to teach him how to fight, kind of cause you're gonna have to learn how to fight, but I might not. Tony saying I might not be around that much longer. Don't say that. That's what Spider-Man says because we're gonna find an antidote and you're gonna be here for a very long time. It's gonna be possible. You just need to calm down and relax. Stay focused. And he throws a punch and Spider-Man is dodging his punches until Black Widow comes in the room and Tony says, what's your name, lady? You're not Natalie Rushman. And Spider-Man is looking at her inside his head that does not know Natalie. That is Tasha Romanoff, Black Widow. And Spider-Man says, let me talk to your new employee for a minute. You like the new plug? That's what Tony says. And Spider-Man just says I have an idea what she's all about. Let's just say that, and pulls Black Widow to the side and says, and Spider-Man says, what are you doing here? And Tasha, are you working for S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is this some type of secret mission? Don't blow my color. That's what Black Widow says. Why are you here? To keep an eye on Tony for what? What for the big man, for Nick Fury? Yeah. What's this mean? Like we never met before. That's Black Widow, said Natalie. Just try and stay out of trouble. And talks to Tony and says, Tony, this is actually a good person. She got really good skill set. I'm trapped. And Tony says I'm traveling to Russia for a racing competition. Will you be there? Maybe I'll be there. They ride them. This is my first time in Russia. What about you, Pepper? Have you ever been to Russia? Not really. How about you, is Natalie? Have you been to Russia? Never in Russia. Done before. Natalie is Black Widow, by the way. I'm just going by the name, cause what she's called in our man. 2 for clarity. So they get to Russia wearing a fancy suit, and we see AIM. Oh no, not this guy. So Tony, is this the guy that you were talking about? AIM. Oh, so this must be the famous Spider-Man that you have that you're friends with their friends. Huh. Oh. Okay, AIM, I don't know you that much, but yet it seems like I really don't like you. So how about you just calm down, and we just have a nut, and we just watch the race. Tiny goes to the bathroom, and checks on his levels in his system, and it's not looking good. And Justin, the boss of AIM, the company that's appearing for Honey, he's talking while he's in a suit and a racing suit, in Spider-Man that says to himself, oh boy, this is just a mess. And we get to Tony getting to the vehicle. And getting into the race now, Pepper and Spider-Man is watching, and Peter says, I remembered this. This is from this. This is when Tony is racing because he doesn't have that long to live with the answer, is actually running from his face. Maybe I'll stop him. So plan 1, fix Tony's heart issue. Second part of the plan is make sure Tony and Brody doesn't fight, and plan 3, stop Whiplash and aim before it gets bad. Okay, first let me save him. Pepper, where is his blue suit? I'll give it to him since I have the power of electricity with blushes of powers should not affect me. That's what he's thinking inside his head. Pepper gives Spider-Man the briefcase suit. I'll get this to him. Spider-Man switching to his full outfit, swinging to the track as Peter is trying to get to Tony. Tony is doing his best to beat Whiplash without his suit, using the oil from the car just explode, using a car door to hit him, and trying to dodge out the way. When Peter gets there, he kicks Whiplash. Spider-Man says, Here, yo Tony. Tony hits the button on the ground, and do the typical suit-up scene from Iron Man 2 as a suit's on them. They get ready to fight. Whiplash tries to grab Spider-Man in Iron Man. As Whiplash uses the electric effect on his lips, it's destroying the Mark V Iron Man suit on his suit. But Spider-Man is absorbing the energy, trying to grab the whip, and pulls it apart, breaking it. He punches Whiplash, grabs the Arc Director from his chest that he has in his little poster. They get back. They heal up. And Tony and Spider-Man go and see Whiplash. What Spider-Man says, wasn't that something that wasn't good? I wasn't good, so you defeated me pretty easily. The power was kind of weak. Whiplash says to Tony, you're a dying man, aren't you? We go and talk Whiplash for a little bit, and then Tony says, how did you survive those attacks in Spider-Man that says I have a power I can absorb and shoot out electricity and shape it into whatever I want to shape it. So I'm basically a lightning sponge. Isn't that handy? Spider-Man says. But that Mark V armor, it's pretty good, but you need to work on. Maybe your next armor can like electricity absorbent, like absorb the energy, and maybe make it stronger. Tony thinks and says that's a good idea, maybe next arm, or I'll think about it. They get back to the house and Spider-Man makes a phone call to Natasha. Natasha says, what is it? What do you need? I need some things. I need the old video that Tony's father made. I need that model over display of the whole place that he used to mean that's in his office. Natasha says, sure, I'll take. Rhodey, Tony's army friend, comes, and it starts coming in and saying, I've been on the phone all day with the army and basically the people that's been wanting to take your Iron Man suits. You said someone was not able to create this technology for a while. Someone came with it yesterday. You mean? Spider-Man says, we know, and Tony is grateful. Rhodey, what's going on? Tony says, help me to my desk. Tony tries to get out of the vehicle, but then he goes to his desk, gets the energy thing to try and keep him alive, and takes the Arc Director from his chest, and Brody says, this is what's been in your body. Should it be smoking like that? And Spider-Man says, no, it should not end. Brody, he's actually dying. Then what do we do about this? Okay, calm down. Spider-Man says, calm down. I got friends working on this. They're gonna bring over some materials to make a back replacement. He just needs to hang in there just a little bit longer. Brody says, you don't have to do something alone, you know you have help now. Tony says, I know I have help. Natalie, secretly Natasha, comes in with all the teams and Tony and Brody says, what is this stuff? Spider-Man's, it's going to fix your heart issue. Spider-Man says, Brody, stay on the phone. The people, Natalie, go back to deal what you doing. Me and Tony got something to do. Is that going on? Whiplash, it's getting transported to the prison cell. As Whiplash is walking through the prison cell, he gets food. It looks at the bread, and it looks to be at the bottom like some type of timer, like some type of bomb. Then I'll never person that has the same number as Whiplash walks in the cell. Then he places the bomb, knocks out the guy. Then he walks out of the prison, and 2 guys wait. Then they pull him into the van. Then the car drives. Whiplash doesn't see anything because they put a back on his head, so he doesn't see anything. And the 2 people that put him inside the van takes him out. Justin Hammer meets him up. Meet him to have to take one says, "Hi, Mr. Whiplash. Justin. Just Flash, we have lots of things to talk about." Justin says, "Sit, so I know you meant to tell if our man and Spider-Man made your own power source are to act. I want you to make suits, I want you to build with me tons, and tons of suits." Whiplash says, "I want my bird," just says you want a bird with what says I want my bird. Justin says giving a bird back in Tony's house. Spider-Man pulls out old video footage his father, Tony's father, going over the little motto, and Spider-Man says, "Tony, look at this." Tony's father goes over and says this is my life work before he starts. He interrupted by a little Tony Stark. Tony's father says, "Put that down." He goes away from his little Tony Stark, goes away from his father, and here goes the message. Tony's father says, "I built this for you, Tony. I wanted to put this on a video because you're not old enough yet. Do you understand this has been my life work when I built what I created? But I believe that you can figure this out. The technology of my time, I'm my way to a break. Until breakthrough. The technology of my time, it's not strong enough, not updated enough. But through every bit of technology that I ever created, the most amazing and extraordinary thing I ever made was you." In the video ends. Tony just looks shocked. Tony says he's never told me he liked me. He never told me that he loves me, but he puts it on video for me. He says everything Spider-Man says, sometimes appearance, really do care about us, really do matter to us, okay. Maybe he wanted you to finish what he started, maybe he wanted to have a big legacy. And he left it in you. Now, the power source that he's talking about, to your heart problem, you knew about this, you knew all along. That's what Tom says. Spider-Man says not quite. I had a feeling I didn't check the video, but when I was looking up power sources for your heart, I was looking through new technology, old technology files, anything power base. Spider-Man says, I think the power source, that word that you're looking for, is already in front of your eyes. Spider-Man's, "Jarvis, can you make a hologram version of this model?" Tony says, "What are you trying to look at, Spider-Man? The whole entire time, the new power source, you've seen it before you rediscovered it. Now come here and look at this again." And Tony starts to get it. He tells Jarvis, "Move the building out the way the hospitals move everything out," said, "except for the center in the middle." And Tony clicks on the point, and he moves everything out the way and makes it bigger, and Spider-Man is thinking he's doing the thing. Tell me a strange thing from the movie in. Spider-Man has a big smile on his face underneath his mask when he figures it out. Tony says, "Webhead, we got some building to do, so." In the back in the machine, Tony does the drilling and Spider-Man is putting the machine together from the building. Tony is trying to drill into the power source to give more power. Spider-Man picks up the Captain America plate. And Spider-Man says to Tony, "I found something to make sure it's perfect level." Spider-Man uses its super strength and Tony's and Spider-Man tells Tony to put it underneath. There you go. Coulson types in his password on the keypad and walks into the lab and says, "They need me for upstate." Spider-Man's upstate, that means probably 4. The God of Thunder is about to come into the MCU pretty soon. Should I leave this? Should I have dislike canon layout, or should I my 2 cents into it? That's what Spider-Man is thinking. Spider-Man says, "Let me put this. Let me fix his heart issue. Don't think about meaningful. Try to." Spider-Man and Tony. Carlson says, "We need both of you." Tony says, "You definitely need me." Spider-Man that says, "Have a good trip, Coulson." They get back to making the machine and Tony says, "Now we're ready," and Spider-Man says, "Don't you want to have this pointed at the machine thing already, just the same this thing, so you don't break your house?" Spider-Man makes a tiny adjusted. I'm kind of point the little triangle thing that we went into Tony's chest to hold in the element. And he turns that on and it starts beaming. And it gets so bright and he finally stops it. And Jarvis says, "You have made a new element, sir." And Spider-Man says, "Yes, you did. Now pop that in your chest and get rid of that old one." Jarvis, "Don't we have to run test?" That's what the smart AI of Tony's house says. Tony said, "It'll be fine." Take it old erector out of his chest and puts in the new one and it starts to glow. But Spider-Man sees the puzzle maze on his body starts to heal up. Spider-Man close his eyes, and after it, the light show says Spider-Man says, Tony, how does that feel? Tony says it felt like coconut in the middle. Spider-Man says it's all gone. The marks the puzzle on your neck. This can be a clean source of energy. I say we celebrate. Time for that birthday party. Tony said, yeah, sure. And Justin gets men with whiplash, and they come up with robots, and Justin is at a golf course. Are you golfing? Justin Cole Whiplash saying, is my suits ready? What can you make them deal with? Whiplash says, I make them do a lot of things in a war scene near Uke. What do you want them to do? Justin says, can you make them fly? Can you make them shields? Can you make them do anything? When I use these suits, robots, whatever you call them in the expo, do you have to give me something to work with? The Flash is building his whips, making them stronger. And back to Tony and Spider-Man. Tony, and in his arm and saved, he has a DJ, he has some people at the party. He's having a good time talking. He's talking to Pepper, even Rhodey's having a good time. Rhodey's, why are you in your Iron Man suit? And Tony says, my party, let me party it up like I want to. Spider-Man and Tony go to the balcony. Spider-Man grabs a Pepsi soda, and Tony grabs a drink. Spider-Man says, how does it feel to be alive? Tony says, pretty good, amazing. Even you see what Spider-Man says, you see what happens when you have friends. You don't have to do this alone. Tony and Pepper comes out and says, can you get back in here? Spider-Man says, we'll be in there a sec. Pepper, Spider-Man, and Tony go back into the house and tell him, thank you all for having the special day with me. You wonderful people, and I must give Spider-Man, Pepper, Rhodey, these 3 people that they've been putting up with my bad habits and all that stuff, and they're wonderful funs to be having. So I thank you now, DJ Drip Drops and some good music, so we can finish this party. Natalie, aka Black Widow, it's just sitting in a nice dress, and Spider-Man says, this next to her, with his invisibility, they party all night, and Peter is sleeping on the ceiling with Lincoln thing, and he wakes up. He feels a little bit. It makes sense to wake up and tell me just open things that I don't. We have to clean up a little bit. We probably party a little bit too much. Spider-Man starts running, feeling adrenaline. He cleans up in Spider-Man's lymph. This is a brand new power, so what, I'm a speedster now. And the first time it activates, I use it for cleaning. I guess Tony doesn't have to worry about cleaning anymore. Tony says, what was that? Probably some type of new power. Tony started waking up, seeing the brand new power that he has. Tony said, downstairs right now. We're gonna run some tests downstairs to slab. Tony yells, Jarvis, make a scan of Spider-Man. Tony, how did you get your powers exactly? Spider-Man, thanks, I can tell him 2 stories. I can tell him 2 things. I can tell him that their original story, or I can tell them that my powers come from an ancient and secret source. But I'm gonna go with option 1. Spider-Man, tell Tony I want to a place with my friends one day. I was just the ordinary kid, but it was a spider that is super. It was experimented on, I think radioactive, and it bit me. And that's what gave me my powers, a radioactive spider. Tony says, you got your powers by accident. Something about that, that's what Spider-Man says. Tony says, so you just decided to be a superhero. You just decided to do good. Well, let's just say I had good people in my life. Some things that fight us would divide you is you got your heart ripped out, and the fencing vent died. And you saw how much damage your weapon people did. That's what divide you to become our man with me. It was my uncle and my aunt, they always tried to make me. Let me do the right thing, always do the right thing. Tony says, you might be right about that, kid. Tony, Jarvis, how about those scans? Jarvis says, it seems like his bones cracked his claws and his capabilities are endless, his potential. Never electricity, power, and everything. I can't even finish his assaults. Jarvis says, Tony said, thank you, buddy. Pep comes downstairs and says, has been cleaned, and in summary, Tony says, that's thanks to our web head here. Says, thank you. Will you be staying for the expo? Sure, I'll stay for that. I'll be up in a sec. Pepper and Tony get ready for the expo as time passes. Spider-Man works on the iron spider suit, the one that is red and gold. And I took his and took the mark in and introverted by a lot upgraded. It went into Tony's old workshop and started improving it. The mark, one spider armor. The spy, the iron spider, this looks good like in the TV shows, and also has the backpack feature. Enhance web fluid just in case, and some other features in it. So just in case you need the suit up, or you want to use it, I can't. He clicks button on the arm spider suit. It turns into a backpack. Jarvis, leave the warm machine suit on standby. Jarvis says I sure will, and also keep his Mark 6 arm man suit, Tony's Mark 6 arm and suit on standby as well. That is what Spider-Man says. Jarvis. Okay. Tell Tony. Spider-Man, Pepper, and Brody show up to the car. Time passes. They get food and finally it's time for the expo. Spider-Man thinks since Tony and Brody, since he didn't have them, since he didn't get the suit to the government. I wonder if might go differently. Justin started to introduce the robots, and it's starting going like usual, until Whiplash hacks into the machines, and it start going haywire, but before then Spider-Man starts going off, tells Pepper, Brody, Courtney we need to get outside right now. Piper says what's going on, it's bad going with the machines. How do you know that? Says I just do that outside. RD. Tony, I got your summing. Tony says I know my suit. But you make rodeo suit. I also made myself a suit. Spider suit wraps around him, and Tony says you made yourself a suit in their armor. Start coming here. Tony and Brody suit up, but before then Spider-Man tells Courtney to get to aim and try and stop it. Take her. Whiplash has been working with Justin, and Justin's how do you know that I got eyes everywhere? That's what mine says. And knocks just out Pepper. He pulls the backpack straps in the iron. I want you to stay here and get him arrested. Trying, and the eyes in the ears from here. Tony, Brody, you're with me. We gotta shut these robots down. The Whiplash might have target lock on us, so we have to get them somewhere safe. Tony and Brody flies in and Whiplash on the computer screen sees them in type a code called target lock. Spider-Man spider sense goes off and he tells Brody and told him he's definitely got his target lock on us. You might want to move Tony, and then Brody activates the jet boots and flies upward in. Spider-Man shoots a web, and it connects to Iron Man in a fly, and Tony says you couldn't make your suit fly. Spider-Man says I would be taken too much from me. I would be stealing your whole identity. Flying is your thing, swinging is mine. That's what Spider-Man says. Tony's hang on then. They're flying upward, breaking the glass, shattering. Whiplash activates the weapon system. Some of them follow. Spider-Man has one hand on the web and another hand free. He uses his electricity power that shoot the robots. Tony says you can shoot electricity and you haven't been doing it this whole time. Listen, I got a lot of tricks. Anything else you can pull out? Tony says shoot some taser webs, rack developed the mines, spider drawings, and web book grenades. And where was all day? That's what Tony says, and Spider-Man says, before I came up, I might have been crafting some materials. I put together myself and some materials. I used your lab. If this is what you've been creating, when you have downtime, then after this is done, we need to work on our project together. That's what Tony says. Spider-Man says I'll think about it. Why he goes into a old park and crashes in, because one of the machines attacks Tony and Brody. It's Spider-Man makes a web pair sheets software. Before that he makes a web cocoon softening. There Spider-Man says, is everyone okay? Brody says, what are we in? Spider-Man says a whip cocoon, a soft soften or fall. Brody says why couldn't you just make a web parachute? He shoots something that melts the webs 10 times faster. Pass will not stop, so we're probably gonna have to split up. Probably want the strongest person at the top. Iron Man go at the top, road go on the side. I'll stay down here and look, but before they can move the machines to start coming in. How much this landing? They get ready. Tony starts shooting a missile that shoots at 3 robots at once. Brody shoots the machine guns and the big gun on the side, and Spider-Man just started conjuring his electricity power into a sword. And it starts slicing. As that's going on, Tony says get down. Spider-Man and Brody get down, and Tony's just starts. activating the laser spinning all around road. He says to start with that next time. Tony says, "Sorry boss, it only works once." Now to Black Widow shows up guards, happy again, starts punching the first guard, knocks him out, like Widow, does a black backflip, and fights a bunch of cards. Black Widow finally gets done with the rest. It's the control room. T-types, and gets in contact with Brody, Tony, and Spider-Man. She says, "Boys, you got incoming this final robot." Seems like a big one. Spider-Man already thinking it's Whiplash. In the Whiplash's armor, and he moves his helmet, and Whiplash says, "Hi Tony," and Spider-Man that says, "Great." Rhodey says, "I'm gonna try this." Spider-Man says, "Please be trying the missile that I think you're trying." That's what Spider-Man is saying inside his head. He shoots the whistle, and it goes a little hole. Shocking Whiplash, his armor Whiplash pulls it out, and actually says that tickled a little bit. Spider-Man says it's gonna more than tickle, activate multiple taser wipes at once. Spider-Man acts his INP. It makes a lightning and makes electric fence. It's shut down all the robots. Brody says, "Why didn't you start with that? It was a one-time use thing, now it's fried." But we might want to get him out of his armor first they gave him. Tony starts getting him out of the armor and puts him in a jail cell that he created with no technology, no nothing but powerful enough to hold him. Spider-Man, he says his new superpower, moving so fast, clean up the robots and destroying them all at once. Pepper finally gets down, and Pepper says to Natalie, you're looking in your suit. Name is Natasha Romanoff. I work for a shield. Or shield. So what are you, a secret organization? Or something like that. Spider-Man comes down, says all the robots are cleaned up and the villain is Catch, and not that many casualties. So I count this as a win. Thank you, Black Widow. Pepper. You knew her true identity. Spider-Man says she didn't want me telling. She wants Tony and me on a secret task force that deals with special threats. Time passes, and the same guy that got Tony in court gave him the medal, and as that goes on, he walks to meet up with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury says, I want you and Spider-Man on the Avenger Initiate. Spider-Man already knows this with a special test for Star putting together. Spider-Man says there's gonna be some changes to this Avenger Initiate. We're not just gonna stop with us, we need to connect with other people as well. There's other people out there too. But I'll get back to you on that a little bit later. I gave you and Tony my work phone information. Nick Fury series says wait, and Peter goes invisible and swings home. When no one else is watching, he makes a porno to his house in the morning, and here's walking in his of the steps. And he changes into his normal clothes. It needs to be all task force all around on the ground in the world, stuff like that. An Aunt May checks on him and ice in. He says, hi Aunt May, you haven't really been around that much. Peter, I know Aunt May, just I've been working a lot and stuff. But I'll try and make it up this weekend. He goes to the school. He walks downstairs and says, hi Uncle Ben, how are you? Pretty good, you look exhausted. Peter, no not really, I did get some sleep. I've just been working a lot. I got some pictures time for my arm for my job, hopefully they don't get some good pay. I've been getting good money from him. I'll see you later tonight. He walks to school, but he drops into the daily, seeing Carly, seeing when Chain, and seeing JJ says, hi P. JJ says, say hello to our new person Eddie. Brock. Peter just looks at him, and he Brock two things, and he thinks real quick two things can be happening. He's an old friend of mine, or his system brand new person. But then he starts remembering using Peter Parker's brain, seeing how we used to grow up together, how her parents work together. I'm gonna go with a friend. Peter says, hi, long time, you see, we need to catch up. Yeah, how you been, Eddie? Says, pretty good. How have you been? I'm going to school doing stuff like that. How have you been doing? Work with some jobs like that I might do. Talk. Yeah, I work here. JJ works. Gives a pretty good pay. I know I heard from him that you're a good photography for Spider-Man. Yeah. Peter says maybe we can catch up later today, but I got school. I just wanted to drop these photos off and collect my money real quick, but maybe come by the house, hang out. Maybe I introduce you to my friends, like we got Felicia, I got Hair. You remember Hair, right? Yeah, maybe we can hang out, or maybe you can just hang out by the house, Eddie says. That's pretty great, that'll be good. See you, maybe we can. It's for reviewed numbers, then make sure we stay in. Peter goes to school, walk to school, and Harry says, what have you been doing out of this past week? Well, working. I do have a job here, yeah. But I'm gonna make it up to everyone on this weekend. But changing the subject, remember Eddie? Yeah, he's back and he's at where I work at. I told him to, maybe hang out later after we get out of school, and Harry says, he's back. Pretty much he looks good. Maybe we can, maybe my treats, maybe we'll go get a pizza or something like that, have some drinks, play video games, like the old times. Felicia's been asking about you a lot. Peter says, what? Felicia's been asking about me. They walk to class and they go to Dr. Art class, science class. That says my final students finally show up. Felicia, assisted by me. Pete, Gwen, sit by me, Henry. Felicia says, writes in a note, so do you want to go out sometime? Peter says it, writes back. Is this a perfect time for this, Felicia? The teacher might see us, just talk to me after class. Dark Ark says, sign home. I could read the page 6 to 7 to 8. Just in the class spell found in rings for Felicia, Paul's brother's hand. I want to go out, so can you be this something like I do want to go out with you? I just promised in my old friend Eddie, but I would see them again. But can we please this Saturday, Sunday? Peter is thinking, why am I messing up my words? Felicia says, you're not messing up your words, it's kind of cute. Peter says it's not cute, and Peter says to see you on Sunday. He only gets out and Harry says a P. So how are we gonna have Eddie? I got his number. So maybe we can hang out by your house. Peter calls Eddie and Eddie says, hey Pete, what are you doing right now? And Peter says, hang out with Harry. Do you want to chill out? Do you want to, if I send you the address to Harris's house, do you think you want to come over? Eddie, I'll be there in a few minutes. Time passes and Eddie comes over to Harry's. We got chips, and we got all lots of stuff and television. Placid on the television, and have a fun time in Peter thinking less is good. It feels heavy. Eddie diseases Eddie, and Harry say, what's been going on with you? I don't know, I just been working a lot, so I haven't been home lately. I've been trying to make sure that the bills don't stack up, and all that stuff, trying to be the responsible. Eddie says, you don't have to do this alone. You have friends, you have people that care about you. Peter laughed at that, and Peter says, Eddie, I just told a friend that recently it was a problem that he couldn't solve one, and then I saw it, I kinda didn't solve it, but I pointed him at the right direction, and Eddie says, exactly, you see, you helped your friend. Let us help you. I'll remember that next time. So Eddie says, any girls you're going after? Not exactly, he says, not exactly. I see the way Felicia look at you. He wants you to make them move or something, the way you to look at each other. And Eddie says, Felicia, huh? So where are you going, on a date or something? And Harry says they're going on Saturday, huh? That's what Eddie says, and Peter says, guys, it's not a date. It's just the outing, it isn't. Can we change the subject, why, you are back in town, lived a long time ago, just wanted to move back home. That's what Eddie says. Had people here, had family, friends, stuff like that, so it seems like that's going well. Have you found out anything? So what's your dream pet? Peter says, where did this come from? I'm the same, I don't know. Make a powerful company, help people are in need, to use technology to assist people. Eddie says, you're the same person, the one to save people, and I wanted to help people. It's a good thing. It's a good way to live. At least when I die, I'll die with pride. And he says, you're so noble. They play some video games, and then you watch movies, then they go, and then Peter goes home first. Peter starts going home, but then his spider sense goes off, and Peter says, great. Peter runs to the alley. He puts on his Spider-Man suit and turns invisible. He's climbing on the inside of the building where the conversation is being held. And Spider-Man listens in. And one of the guns says, Hammerhead said he wants his shipment. Peter thinks to himself, Hammerhead, now already I put this away, now I gotta put a Hammerhead. It always has to be a vacuum that someone has to pick up. They go in the warehouse, and you hear some fighting. Spider-Man swings in and sees Daredevil, Matt Murdock, and his Blaffet. Spider-Man is thinking to himself and saying, what the heck is he doing here? This is not his city unless I took Duncan Kingpin too soon and Hammerhand. Is his new Kingpin? Is this the ripple effect of me being here and doing this stuff? Peter thinks to himself, I'll think about this later. Then he goes down, he beats down the criminals. He flipping, kicking Daredevil senses. Spider-Man. He throws a punch. Spider-Man says, calm down, Darken Brody. And Spider-Man says, calm down, and I tries to punch him using boxing. Spider-Man says, of course he's using boxing. Spider-Man web into wall. Spider-Man says, Darken Brody, calm down. The Daredevil says, what is this? And who are you? Spider-Man says, that's the question I should be asking you. Because you're in the wrong city, buddy, but I'm not the bad guy here, so how about you? Tell me why you're in my city and tell me what's actually going on in here. Daredevil tries to strangle out of the web, and Spider-Man says that's a bad idea. I made it super strong, so unless you don't start talking, you're not getting out of here. To start talking right now, Daredevil says. When you Kingpin away, it made a vacuum in your city and mine. I followed the goons, and now they're having people here in your city too. Okay, that's what Spider-Man says. This is my city. Okay, I'm gonna help because we're both superheroes, but you're gonna have to be calm down. I know the streets, and I have some friends that help us too. Give me what you got, and I'll get back to you. Spider-Man grabs Daredevil's phone, and he puts his number in his phone. Spider-Man shoots a compound melt the web down faster. Daredevil falls down and Spider-Man turns invisible and leaves and their devil cough and says, I don't send them anymore. Now the Spider-Man, as he's swinging home, for once he thinks to himself right now, I only have 2 pieces of cough. I can call S.H.I.E.L.D. or I can call my man right now who would help me in the best solution. I also have contacts with the police, seems like a police matter, but that seems like an issue for another thing. I need rest. He makes a portal and he swings into it. Takes off his superhero suit and he goes to bed. It's Saturday, the day that Peter spends all day with Felicia. Felicia starts calling him. Felicia says, what are you doing right now? Peter says, I was working late. Felicia says, you sound like you've been working late. Would you get any sleep last night? Peter says, yes, I got a few hours. We have a date today. That's Felicia says. I remember. I'll come pick you up in a few minutes. Peter goes to the bathroom, takes a shower, and grab a regular red shirt and some jeans looking all nice. Uncle Ben says someone's looking nice. Peter says, thanks, Uncle Ben, Aunt Son. So what's the occasion today? I'm just gonna go out with Felicia. I could then going out with Felicia, kiddo. Be safe and be careful. That's the plan. Peter walks to Felicia's house, knocks on her door. Felicia father answers the door. Peter says, hello, sir. How are you doing? Mr. Harvey, he says, doing pretty good. Peter, have her back safely will do. Felicia comes in a white black dress. Peter says, you look pretty nice. Peter says, where do you want to go? Felicia says, nowhere too fancy for the first date. Felicia, maybe the Pizza Pal? Lido's. Peter says, Dundee. Peter and Felicia box to the restaurant. Peter stands at the cash register and says to the store person, give me a half cheese pepperoni. Peter says, do you want anything else? Felicia says, that's it. Okay. Peter goes to a table and says, Felicia says, spill it. Why haven't you been around? Peter says, what are you talking about? Felicia says, you know what I'm talking about, not being around that much. Are you staying here all the time, you? And then something just happened, you're not hanging out as much. No, Peter says, I have a job. Yeah, job, how do you used to know how to have fun? That's what Felicia says. Yep, I'm just trying to make sure that the bills don't go up too highly. We're doing good on money, but it's always good to be prepared just in case. Philly says, I get it, but don't forget about us. Peter says, I'm not gonna forget about you. I just hang out with Harry and Eddie just yesterday, now it's your turn. He gets a piece. The pizza finally comes and Peter says, pizza time. Felicia take a slice, and then her takes a slice and needs pizza after they finished our pizza. His spider sense goes off. Peter says, can you just wait by 5 minutes? I have to go to the bathroom real quick. We can watch a movie. He goes to the bathroom, turns invisible, and puts on his Spider-Man suit. Peter says okay, so my spider says he's going off around here or somewhere, so that means danger is close enough for me to send it. And then the police sirens go off. He goes invisible, and then he jumps on a police car, then he sees some glowing guys, glow guys, and some Chinese mask. Oh no, Mr. Negative is behind this. What does Mr. Negative got to do about any of this? First, I got Hammerhead. Now, I got Mr. Negative. Gotta be careful. Spider-Man sees the glowing people with the glowing swords. One tresses slash, but Spider-Man dodge tap away, flipping out the way. I kinda end this fast. He uses web bombs. A giant guy tries to punch him, but he punches his guys instead, and Spider-Man swings in web kicks. The big heavy guy. He webs them all up, and he calls Yuri. No, we haven't talked in a minute. That's what Spider-Man says, but can you get guys down here? Yuri says sure. Spider-Man says you might have a bigger issue at foot. I'll get back to you when I figure it out. Before Peter leaves, he grabs the mask. He puts it into his magical bag, back to his room, and he goes back to the bathroom, and he goes back to Felicia and says sorry about that. That took longer than expected. Says it's okay. She says, what movie do you want to go see? Maybe an action movie. That's what Felicia says. And then they go and watches a movie. Can you finish watching the movie? It's dark outside. Felicia says had a great time. We should do this again sometime. Peter says Felicia says yes Peter. So yes. Was this a date right now? I don't want to read this wrong, but it felt like it. Felicia says what do you think? And kisses him. Peter says, I guess I got my answer. Then I want to see more of you. I want to be around you. I love it when you struggle, and when you're trying to solve the world, when you're trying to help a lot of people. That's what Felicia says. That's the best quality about you. Peter says, should I really bring her into this life? All the Spider-Man, I wish I had some little universe technology right now, to the different universes and acts of me. So does this mean we're dating? Yes, Peter. Peter walks her back to the house. Felicia kisses Peter one last time before they were open, and Felicia's father says, did someone have a good night? Felicia says it was good. He walks, and then he turned invisible, and then he swings. Thanks, Soft, going to solve the next problem that happened later today. So first he talks to Claire, his magical spider. Anything happened to Ant-Man? Has her new boss been acting weird? Claire says not that I know of, so it seems like I'm gonna have to take a little bit of a visit. He has home for the night. He teleports to our alley and put his regular clothes. Walks the rest home when he gets home. Uncle Ben and Aunt May said that you have a good time. Peter says yes I did pretty much. I'm pretty tired so I'm gonna go to bed. Have a good night too. And he goes to bed and he goes to sleep. He wakes up, and then he thinks to himself, I have to stop this before it gets worse. It's not going to be a PS4 Spider-Man's toys. What universe this? I'm going to stop this before this gets bad. And he talks to Claire. As if Peter says, I want you to keep an eye on Mr. Lee at May's boss. Claire says sure, and Peter goes downstairs, talking to Aunt. Peter says, Aunt May, can I go to the feast center with you today? Aunt May says, what did you say? Ant-Man Peterson says, I want to go out in the feast center today. I have some time. Aunt Mason says, don't you have a job? Peter says, I got some time today. Then Peter gets in the car. And Aunt May says, so how was school? How's life? How's things been catching up in? Peter says, well, I went on a date with Felicia last night, a few days after I hang out with Harry and Eddie. But you already knew that. And I've been working, and my boss has been giving me good money for my pictures, so I would say life has been doing pretty well. That's good. So anyway, how about you? Aunt May says thanks to you. The bills have been getting paid on time and makes the bed look pretty good. I would just like to spend some time with you and Ben. I know that's what Peter says. I'll try more. I've been trying to find a balance through everything. I know you've been trying to work and do all types of different stuff, but you don't have to work yourself. Instagram, take it one day at a time. Okay, it's all about balance. Or eventually, you will help with the rake. I understand that's what Peter says. Peter says inside his head. She might look like Tom Holland's Aunt May, but she definitely acts like a little bit of the PS4 Spider-Man. But she acts like the people. But she acts like the Spider-Man from the game. They make it to the building, and the Beast Center looks nice, and Peter and Ant-Man walks in the room. And Mr. Lee comes in. Mr. Lee says, May, nice to meet you as always. And who's this Aunt May? Says, this is my nephew Peter. Mr. Lee says, I heard so much about you. May thinks so highly of you, how you want to help people and assist people with science and trying to help you as best as you can. Peter says, yeah, I get the feeling that we should have in common. You got a whole feast center. Peter is about helping us today, Mr. Lee says, I'm going to be going out on a business trip for a while, and Aunt May says, do you know when you will be back? And Peter thinks to himself, oh gosh, already know that is a bad sign in the PS4 Spider-Man game, and he said means Mr. Negative was about to come out in person. Gosh, I just hope Norman Osborn was in the cause of his parents being gone. Peter starts saying, okay. So let's start working. So what can I help you with it? Aunt May, you can help me by this, talking to people, seeing what they need. Peter goes around helping, giving people coffee, fixing the television, doing all that type of stuff, and then goes to the bathroom, going invisible. And then he goes to the office. Then he rolls, only crawls on the ceiling. Hopefully dislike in the game, this leads to his office. He climbed in the hint, crawling, find an opening from to Mr. Lee's office. Do I have to be careful? You might have booby-trapped this. He finds a secret apartment, and it shows a picture of his parents, the sword that's glowing with Mr. Negative energy, a video log in a file, revenge plans attacking Osborn. Oh gosh, don't tell me. He actually did it. Gosh, I gotta save Harry's father. Gosh, I gotta find them, but first gotta solve this. But I know who to call you. Peter calls Yuri. Yuri says, Spider-Man. And Peter, remember when I figure out that problem that we had the glow eyes, the Japanese mask. Second, what's this say? I found a lead. It's in a feast center. You're gonna find a lady called me Parker in a secret room. Be careful, it might be booby trap. Peter gets back from the bathroom, running to Aunt May. I help the health people around, but I'm sorry about this, but my boss from my job wanted me to get some pictures downtown. If I finish up early, I'll come back out. Promise. Anthony says, this go no, if this wasn't important, you wouldn't be leaving like this. I love you, thank you. He goes outside, puts on his Spider-Man suit. So he's gonna cut you, he's gonna go to Ashcorp Tower. As he swing through the city, he's using his super senses, and he's a giant explosion, and Peter sticks to a building. He says, so you're going through the front. Spider-Man swings at the top, trying to find Osborn's office. Norman office finds the office. Harry is talking to him. Norman says, Spider-Man, what are you doing here? Spider-Man says, a person is trying to assassinate you. I'm trying to save you. We need to get everyone out of this building now. Norman at an evacuation system. Spider-Man says, is it a back exit? Norman says, yes, it is. Spider-Man cuts Mr. Negative off, seeing Mr. Lee like this before. Mr. Negative says, where is he? Spider-Man. Where is Norman Osborn? In a raging voice. East. He starts charging regular folk, his goons, with negative energy. He says men gets Spider-Man in. Spider-Man uses some of his gadgets, his gravity mines. Spider drowns his webs, his regular webs, his imped webs. He used this crap in these mines. Kicks a guy in the wall into a wall, in the Webster instantly grabs them. The one of the Mr. Negative's guards with energy whips tries to catch Spider-Man, but then his spider senses goes off. He flips out of the way, and he kicks one of the guards using the environment towards the advantage, pulling objects, tossing them, and then he sees the big brute. Then he kicks using his foot, then he ties them all up. Peter uses its super senses to sense, where he went using his spider senses, superhero super sight, but he's here, screaming, and Harry saying, let my father go. Peter says, I got you. Spider-Man says, I know what he did. I know he hurt your parents. This isn't the way, because everything you built a nice shelter. If you do this, it's not gonna bring them back. This is not the way, and Lisa's he should lose everything too. He deserves to lose everything. Yes, he's responsible for your parents maybe, but this isn't the way. Mr. Negative starts thinking, letting and blast the Spider-Man, taking Norman. Spider-Man shakes it off, but then he checks on her. In Spider-Man's, are you okay? Harry says I'm okay, but he took my dad. I'll get him back then. He's swinging through the city. Spider-Man calls Yuri and says, Mr. Negative, this took Norman Osborn. I am tracking them, and then helicopter running through the city. Mr. Negative is trying to blast Spider-Man out the sky. But he got out the way, flipping, dodging laser bling. He shoots a web bullet. Texas the web fluid on his face. He tries to pull it off. Spider-Man whip kicks one of the guards on the ground, and then he kicked the ethic guy and takes Mr. Birmingham, saving Mr. Osborn and stopping the plane, making a giant web cook, making giant webs so it doesn't fall on anyone. His wings in Norman Osborn to a building and says, Norman, is it, are you okay? In Norman says, yes, you got me just in time. Spider-Man, just wait here, I'll come back for you. He swings back and Mr. Negative got away. He calls. He swings Norman back home, and Harry says, Dad, you're okay? Woman says, yes, and I'm okay. Then Spider-Man is talking to you on the ground. Yuri says that information's pretty good. How did you know how fine? Spider-Man says, let's just say I had a fudge, but he got away. I saved the money, but I didn't get the chance to stop him. Yuri says we will get them next time. Okay, you stink of life, and that's all that matter, ain't it? Was not that much damage. This is back's got some pictures on that fight, and he goes check on Aunt. He comes to our office and says, Aunt May, are you okay? Aunt May says, I am okay, but some guys came checked Mr. Lee's office. Did they tell you what was in there? Some secret files. It's like you have a secret, Mr. Negative. So weird. I know everything's gonna be okay. Spider-Man gets in contact with Iron Man and says, I got a problem that needs another smart guy, and Tony says, what is it? Tony suits up in his Iron Man suit and flies over. Tony says, so what's the problem with the head? Spider-Man says, so I got this villain deck trying to is after this person that I know in real life, so basically, and tell me in Spider-Man, Tony that the story, and catches him up, and Tony says, so you've seen him as using negative emotions and take over people, so it looks like an energy signature thing. Maybe I can get it, and maybe we can make a machine that kind of to find his energy signature. A few minutes later, they make a machine. Spider-Man and Tony finally get a pen. In Spider-Man says, Yuri, me and Tony got a location, get everyone together, but don't go in until we're ready, okay? And that's gonna be the end of this part.